I have speed, go.
Render Crayton B-roll, take 3.
So, sir, tell me about the um, object in front of you.
Well, this is just a couple of medal citations that I received after I returned home from Vietnam, one of which is a Distinguished Service Medal, and one of them is a citation for one of the Silver Stars that I received. So I just keep this to remind myself of what I don't need to go through again. So anyway, I don't know that anybody's ever read it. It's been hanging on my wall for a long time. But
Can you read a little bit from the citation?
okay, this one is from the Distinguished Service Medal for exceptionally meritorious service to the government of the United States in a duty of great responsibility as a senior ranking officer in the Son Tay prisoner of war camp in Hanoi, North Vietnam, from February 1966 to February 1973. By his diligent efforts, perseverance, devotion, and loyalty to the United States, and under the most adverse of conditions, he resisted all attempts by the North Vietnamese to use him to cause and causes detrimental to the United States. Provided superb leadership and guidance to his fellow prisoners of war during extended periods of severe pressures from his captors in their attempts to gain information for propaganda purposes.
And you were saying years later.
I'm not sure this must be somebody else's. That doesn't sound like me.
You were saying years later at one of the POW reunions. What's his name, Kerry?
Smitty Harris.
Smitty Harris came up to you. Can you tell that story here, because I think it's particularly pertinent.
Well, Smitty Harris and Fred Flom both were having really bad medical problems, and I got the word that Smitty was really in bad shape, and so I passed the word to all the people in the camp that every time they got a chance to talk to the Vietnamese, when the Vietnamese would call them in for what we call quizzes, which were just interrogations, that they would tell the Vietnamese that Smitty was in bad shape and he really needed medical care. And so enough people finally told him that they finally gave him some medical treatment.
And talk about the risk that you took in passing that word.
Well, the problem being was that it was against the camp rules for us to communicate. And so obviously, I was just telling the Vietnamese that I was communicating, because there was no other way that they would know, other than the fact that I had told these people by our way of communicating. So it was always a risk when you were communicating. I mean, they really did not want us talking to each other. I think they were scared to death that we were going to riot, get together and do something.
And then years later, Smitty would come up to you, and I think it made you particularly proud. In relation to these, I think it gives a particular pride.
Yeah, I mean, it really, he came up to me and said that he appreciated that I really saved his life, and it just meant so much to me, because I hadn't realized that I had made a difference. And so that was interesting, and I'm glad that Smitty's better and that he's living a normal life these days. So.
And is it fair to say that one of the rewards of good leadership is when you know the effect you've had on someone. Can you say that in your own words, sir?
Well, that's right. You know, when you know that the people under you appreciate what you do, then that means a great deal to you. And they recognize the fact that you're there for them and you're going to help them out. And so it kind of made up for all the trouble that I got into because I was the senior ranking officer in the camp.
Beautiful, sir. You good?
Yeah. Why don't you have him read the Silver Star Commendation?
Would you mind, sir, just reading the Silver Star Commendation?
Okay, this is for services set forth in the following citation for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action on 7 February 1966 while serving as a flight leader with Attack Squadron 56 embarked in the USS Ticonderoga during aerial combat operations in North Vietnam. After Commander, then Lieutenant Commander Crayton had sought out and led a devastating attack against a major line of communication, his aircraft sustained crippling damage and he was forced to eject over enemy-held territory. Although injured and confronted with the danger of imminent capture, he courageously directed the efforts of his two wingmen and discouraged the approach of enemy ground troops. Knowing the critically low fuel state of the wingman's aircraft, he directed them to depart the scene, although their departure almost surely would lead to his own capture by the enemy troops. His sound judgment, selfless concern for his men, and extraordinary heroism in the face of grave personal danger were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service.
Beautiful, sir.